Hello and welcome to the next episode of Album Review with me, Winslayer. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the new album Misery by Amity Affliction, which came out on August 24th. And then we'll go into each individual song, what I liked, what I didn't like, and at the end, I will rank them by my most favorite to favorite songs in the album. I have to say that I did prefer the last album by Amity Affliction over this one, but with that being said, I do think this is a pretty special album, a very unique album, and one that they have every right to make after five or so phenomenal albums. They're allowed to do something different, take some bold creative risks, and I think that this album really is that album for them, one where they try something different, and I don't think it entirely works, but it is something new. Maybe if they keep at it, this style will be their new style for the next couple years. The first song in the album, Ivy, is I think a very weird one to start the album off with because it's my second least favorite song on the album. I don't like it a lot, and yet they chose to use it to promote the album. I think it was one of the first songs that I saw on YouTube. There's, I think, a music video associated with it, and it's okay. Like I said, I don't hate this album. I think it's still a pretty good song. It's just a weird one for them to start with and for them to use to promote the entire album. I know when I first heard it, I got nervous. I was like, uh-oh, another one of my favorite bands is, losing their style, going mainstream. And I didn't like that I was feeling that way because I like to give artists the benefit of the doubt, let them make their stuff before I judge it. So I didn't like that song, but I was willing to give the whole album a try because the last album I think is my second favorite album of all time. It's just amazing, beginning to end. Every last song is great. They all lead into one another. I thought the music videos that they made for that album were perfect for YouTube. There was one that ended with like a to be continued, and if you couldn't just go right to the next song, it was a weirdly, I think, bad music video. But if you could, it was an amazing music video. It told a very different story, one that you couldn't get without both of those songs right next to one another. Um, yeah, I think that this song is a little bit less metal than some of the stuff that they've done in the past. There's definitely some elements of electronica, maybe synthetic piano, and I'm not a giant fan of those noises. There's definitely other songs with more of it, and I think the thing that made this one like one of my least favorite ones is it just doesn't stand out to me when I think about it. I can't even think outside of the chorus what happened in the song. Like I know there's a line about it being a doomsday, but I don't know. It doesn't stick with me. It's just nothing special. The next song, it was almost a tie on my list with the first song. Feels Like I'm Dying is another one that they chose to promote the album with, and like with the previous one, I thought that it was kind of boring, kind of slow, and yeah, not like their older stuff. But I used to really not like when people would hate on Metallica back in high school because they were trying to do something new with their music. They were selling out and not going mainstream. But I think music's dynamic, and it's okay that they're trying something new with songs like this one, the second one, and the first one, and a couple other ones that I'll get to pretty soon. But what I do like about this song is that I think that the music video here is designed for YouTube. It's like the song that I was just talking about on the previous album. I can't remember which one it is. I think one of them is about heartbreak or something like that. Um, but yeah, it has a nice to be continued message, which makes me feel like there's a lot more that they have in the works that I haven't seen on YouTube in terms of music videos. Maybe a couple music videos, not just two songs that tied it to one another. But I think it will just be this one and then like the next one, which would be Holier Than Heaven. I haven't seen a music video for that one, but I think we can expect something like that in the near future, seeing as that's the next song on the album, and that's how it worked with those two songs that were linked on the previous album. But yeah, it was a pretty weird one. The bank robbery with the slimy boss. I don't know. Like I don't know what else you can do with that story. With the other one, it was a little bit more relatable. This is a little bit more like specific. So who knows? Like in the other one, there was a funeral, so it was definitely like easier for other people to I think relate to than robbing a bank. But yeah, the next song, Holier Than Heaven, I think is a lot more like the Amity Affliction that I'm used to. It's more metal, and it has some pretty clear lyrics are that you can get, you can sing along with. Maybe more so than previous albums. I think that may be a direction they were trying to take this album. They were trying to make their music a little bit easier to um, for people who hadn't listened to their stuff to get into, so that some of their lyrics are a little bit clearer and easier to understand. Like the title, I thought it was a good title. It's kind of like that saying holier than thou, but it's slightly different. Holier than heaven allows them to take that saying in a slightly different direction. And I like the line about like heavier than hell. So it's kind of like you're above heaven or below hell. You're outside of um, like the normal spectrum of morality, which is like a very interesting perspective because sometimes people say like morality is a bit of a horseshoe or something like that. When you get to the extremes, you actually can see some pretty similar behavior. Um, and I think that may be what they're getting at here. Who knows? Maybe it's not that. I'm a little bit unsure. What I really like about the title is it got me thinking, and that's one of the strong suits of Amity Affliction. It was a nice, refreshing change of pace. I will say that. I really liked this song. After I heard this, I was like, okay, great. I can listen to the rest of the album without too much fear. And when I got to the next song, Burn Alive, I was very happy. I was starting to begin like I might like this album because it's got super catchy lyrics, maybe more so than some of their previous stuff. Like that's I think what they're working on is trying to come up with something that people can sing along with and maybe put on the radio. And this song that does that for me. It's fun. It's got a fast energy and it's executed well. It's simple, but like I said, executed well, and that's all you really need in for the radio, right? A lot of these songs are like 3 to 4 minute songs, so I think that may be what they're trying to do is it's maybe they're trying to market themselves more for the radio or those types of crowds. I noticed that the second vocalist, the one that screams more, the one that's a little bit more metal in my opinion, even though if you look at them, the one that sings with a really high pitched voice is always wearing a Cannibal Corpse. I noticed the one that screams more. He was very rarely used in this song, but it was effective, and I really like that. I think that they're trying to use him um, more rarely so that he has more of an effect and so it's not so jarring for people who don't quite know their music. But there are songs later in the album where he does get more of an emphasis and I as like one of the older fans really enjoyed that. The fifth song, Misery, is the one that they named the entire album off of, and I have to say I don't know why they did that because I think it's slow and boring. It's got annoying, strange singing. It's like electronic or synthetic, and yeah, it's kind of mopey. Got this weird line like "I just want to die." I don't know. It's not my favorite on the album. Maybe after I've listened to the other songs like 20 times or so, I'll just be sick and tired of them, and I'll be ready for something different like this. But at this point in time, this is my least favorite song on the entire album. The next song, Kicks Rock, is just like it's good. It's fun. Like I understand you can't call an album Kicks Rock or yeah, I think it's Kicks Rock. I have Kick Rocks, but I don't think it's that. I think it's the other way around. Um, it's it's not really something you can name an album off of, but it's still a really fun song. When I got to the end of it, I noticed how short it was, and then I noticed how short a lot of these songs were, like 3 to 4 minutes. When some of their other ones were 5 or 6 minutes long. It's just like it's a different style, and this one actually fits well into that style. A lot of the songs I think didn't quite hit the mark. This one it does that for me. It's I think a very interesting song. It gets me uplifted and motivated and ready for something different, something more like what I'm used to. And that's where Black Cloud, the next song, comes in. I think this one really um, lives up to their previous work. It has that feeling that their other albums have had, and it starts to be a little bit more serious. I think there's more from the second vocalist, more from the guitarist, at least more that I noticed, and it's the first song in this album where I really felt like I was listening to Amity Affliction. There are some electronic sounds, some things that are new, some things that they're experimenting with in this song, but it just complements everything really, really well. It was almost my favorite um, song on the album, but it is kind of just overshadowed by the next one, DIE. That one is like maybe my favorite song of this year, and I've I've only listened to it probably 3 or 4 times, but I find myself thinking about that song a lot over the past 24 hours. It's a great song. It's super catchy, and I think it's got a nice message too. It's just everything that this album is, I think, working towards. The band has always been good at messaging. It's just been kind of hard to for people who aren't metalheads or maybe into screamo type music to get into. And this song, I think, is an approachable way to talk about a really tough topic, dying. Like DIE is it's simple song, but it's just like it's more done in an accepting sense of death. Like in previous albums, they've talked about people that they've known dying, and it's been very sad, kind of like they're wallowing in it, and they haven't quite moved on. It's very fresh. This one is more like they're talking to some child of theirs, and they're trying to teach them a lesson that they've learned over their years, and that everybody dies. It's part of life. It's sad, and nobody enjoys it. I'm gonna die. You're gonna die. We're all gonna die. And I think this song really reminded me of one of the ones off the last album, OMG IMY, because it's done in a similar fashion with the um whatchamacallit periods. But DIE, as far as I can tell, doesn't stand for anything. OMG IMY is oh my god, I'm missing you, and it's about somebody who killed themselves. I think they even include the voicemail that person left the artist before they killed themselves in the track, and it's just like it's a very powerful track, but it's just so fresh and intense. It's kind of hard to sit through if well, even if you've been through an experience like that, it's hard to relive that. But if you haven't been through an experience like that, I can't see why you'd want to listen to music about that. It's very sad and pretty depressing. Whereas the way this song handles it, it's done in a way that can bring up your mood instead of bring you down. I think, yeah, I'll leave it at that because I could talk about that song for a long, long time. The next one, Drag the Lake, is pretty interesting. I think this one really shows off the skill of both the vocalists. I think that they are emphasized in the song a lot more than the other elements of the band. There's definitely less screaming and metal sounds from the more metal sounding singer, but it's definitely there, and I like that they're trying new things, that they're not trying to make exactly the same old sound, because then this would just sound like their older albums. This song for me is the direction I would really like them to take the band overall, but I could see them going in some slightly different directions in the short term just to see how things are responded to, if people like the electronic, because that one to me was one of the more like old school songs, like their stuff from their previous work. The next two songs are similar. I think that they're more like their previous stuff, which is weird because like they hit all of this at the end of the album. All of their stuff at the beginning is for people who haven't heard them before, and I think everything in the second half is for true fans. And I really felt that when I got to Beltsville Blues and Set Me Free. Beltsville Blues, it really picks up towards the end and feels more metal. Like their older stuff was more metal, a little bit of other stuff, but this album just it gets less serious and a little bit easier to digest, and this one just yeah, it goes back to that old style verse you the guitar solo in Set Me Free was phenomenal. Like it took a while to get there, but I really liked that they had some guitar solos. It was short. It was nice to see that they're still doing that. They're still writing music like that. I think that's why they put those two songs there, and then they're like, "Don't worry, we still understand that this is the kind of music some people enjoy. We will keep playing it and um, creating songs like that." So I was very happy to see those two songs at the end. The last song was an interesting one. I think it's a really good title for the last song because it reminds me of another saying, never look a gift horse in the mouth. The song is called Gift Horse, and the meaning of that is like be thankful for what you get. Like if somebody gave you a horse back in I don't know, medieval times, you wouldn't say, "Oh, their teeth are falling out. I don't want this free horse." No, you take a free horse if somebody gives you a free horse. And I feel like that's kind of how I feel about this album. I it's not everything I would have wanted from them, but it's still an amazing album, and I'm very thankful that they put this together. All of the songs are relatively short compared to their other songs, but I think I know why. And Amity Affliction has definitely, in my eyes, earned the right to do that stuff, to try and do that stuff with their music, because they've been doing 5 albums, writing phenomenal music, and I'm sure they're gonna do many, many more albums. It only took like I think 1 year, maybe a year and a half to write this album, so I expect to see another one in the near future that may be like this, may be different. Who knows? I'll be thankful to get it whenever they get around to doing that. And yeah, it was a lot like the album in the sense that it didn't start off too metal. The song, it got very metal towards the end, and I like that. It seemed to be like they were reflecting on the album with the song, like they kind of understood how people like me might feel and respond to the album. So yeah, I'm very happy to see that they're making those kinds of shout outs to their fans because I do feel like that was a very conscious decision that this band it does a very good job of lining up their songs in a logical order. When I was watching the the music videos and their previous albums, I really felt that way. Like they knew a long time ago that when they wrote these songs that they would be going next to each other on the album, and that's really neat to see a band putting that much thought into it. Now, I did talk a lot about which songs I liked and which ones I didn't, but it may not be clear which ones I liked the most just by hearing me talk about them. So here is my list of songs that I liked from the ones I liked the most to the ones that I liked the least. Number 1, DIE. Number 2, Black Cloud. Number 3, Set Me Free. Number 4, Beltsville Blues. Number 5, Drag the Lake. Number 6, Gift Horse. Number 7, Kicks Rock. Number 8, Burn Alive. Number 9, Holier Than Heaven. Number 10, Feels Like I'm Dying. Number 11, Ivy. And number 12, Misery. So yeah, that's everything I wanted to talk about in this episode. If you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like and to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. If there's any other albums that come out in the near future that you think I might enjoy reviewing, feel free to let me know in the comments below in my Discord channel, anywhere that works for you. See you around.